Down is moved over, and he actually finds himself teamless like right now. He was formerly, I believe, working with Coca Autentica Papit, but as you said, they're not really a team as much as some other. They're like they sort of sponsor some players, and they're an interesting organization. So ShaDoWn currently teamless. So team owners, if you're watching, check this guy out. He's real good. And his opponent in the bottom left-hand side in the blue, another French player. Representing, of course, again, this player is sponsored by Coca Autentica Papit. Our blue Zerg player, his name is Denver. Now,
yes,
if you go to Denver's Twitter, you're going to see him talking a lot about how he's named after some French cartoon dinosaur. And even though the player himself says it's true, Steadfast, I'm going to break some news here on the stream. It's not. Denver's been lying to all of us for a long time, and very few people know this. He's actually named after the American folk singer-songwriter John Denver. And he's a huge John Denver fan, but he's a little embarrassed by it. He doesn't want people to know that. So he lies and says it's about some cartoon dinosaur, but I think it's important the StarCraft community realizes that Denver is a lying sack of crap, and he's actually named himself after John Denver because he's such a big fan of American folk music.
You know what? I always suspected, but I really appreciate you having the bravery to just confirm what we were all so sure of. I mean, he can't keep getting away with it.
I've been called the slasher of the StarCraft 2 scene, just breaking stories left and right. You know, I just got to keep it real here. Denver forced to take that weird third base, and on Jagannatha, which is already a pretty large map, that third base a long way away from the main base. And I like the Stargate follow-up here from ShaDoWn. We'll see what he goes out with first. I think ShaDoWn sometimes likes to go Void Ray first, which is a pretty good play against Zerg players. Gives you a lot of map control as you can poke down those overlords left and right. But with that third base so far away, I feel like Stargate's a pretty good choice from ShaDoWn. Steadfast, how tough is it to defend against a Stargate opener as a Zerg forced to take that very far away third base?
It's certainly annoying, but I would say the adept pressure is the more difficult thing to deal with, but so far a pretty nice job from Denver right there. He is forced, of course, to morph a Spore Caller, but this is where things get really difficult. This double adept, you can start one-tapping drones. If you're not careful, you can lose a lot. He does have a couple more lings popping out in the main base. ShaDoWn, surprisingly not committing in there, but looks like he just wanted to get a little bit of scouting information. This Overlord is not in a safe position.
What's Denver?
It's off-centered. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I was just watching it with the vision, and well, he's gonna lose it now, but that means that Oracle can get across the map a little bit faster than it otherwise should have.
Yeah, interesting mistake there from these pro players. You know, it's so funny. It just shows how good these players are that when they make a 1 or 2 pixel mistake like that, we're surprised by it. We're like, wow, what are the odds of something like this happening? And really nice there from ShaDoWn to finally pick it off. I will say this is a bold move from ShaDoWn. He does not have the best scouting information right now, Steadfast. He hasn't really gone across the map in a little while, and he's going to go ahead and drop a third base at about the 4-minute mark. That seems very economically aggressive to me, but I think he feels confident about it because Denver's been forced to take that third base, the natural, at that third base location. So really economic openings from both players, and we may be settling ourselves in for a pretty decent mid or even late game here.
Oh, this probe is going to get picked off. Nice micro from ShaDoWn to make Denver work for it and actually end up picking off all of those lings. That's kind of nice. But Oracles will pop into the main base. They do have full hull HP, and they managed to get, what was that? That was just one drone. Nice job from Denver.
Yeah, just the one drone from Denver. And you'd think ShaDoWn would have been able to get a little bit more, but obviously just playing it safe. If you ask a Protoss player how many drones you got to kill to make this worth it, the answer is always going to be, it doesn't matter how many drones you kill, just save the Oracle, keep the Oracle alive so you can do things like this. You can go for the stasis wards in the middle of the game, and of course Revelations in the late game going to be so important. Nice block on the wall here. ShaDoWn's defense has been airtight so far this game. If we look at the units lost tab, actually, we'll see there's only been one probe that's gone down. So both players defending really well. As I say that, ShaDoWn takes a little more hull damage than he probably should have, but pops back out. Steadfast, we see a lair finishing up for Denver. What's his game plan after this as he drops a 4th base?
Well, that is a good question. The map is a good one, I feel, for Mutiling Bane. There is a lot of areas where you can kind of set up for flanks, set up for surrounds. But it looks like with Roach speed and +1 melee coming down, we're probably going to be seeing some classic Ravager Ling Bane. Denver, though, he's going to have to cancel his base. and that's a really nice pickoff for ShaDoWn right there.
That's the danger of going. Yeah, that's the danger of getting against that 3 Oracle play. Sometimes I feel like a lot of Protoss players like 2 Oracles is all you need to basically one-shot a drone, right? So 2 Oracles I'll make, and then I'll either swap into Phoenix or go for some sort of transition. But the 3 Oracles, actually, with the amount of energy that you save, you are able to snipe down some bases like that. And they can be slightly more efficient. It's not like because 2 Oracles is the power spike, right? Which a power spike in video games is when you make the same investment into something, but get a greater reward for it. So it's the difference between 1 Oracle killing off drones 2 at a time and 2 Oracles killing off drones more than twice as quickly, usually. So a good power spike at 2 Oracles, but 3 Oracles can do a little bit more damage. The real story, though, of this game is not those 3 Oracles, despite how effective they've been, and they're still being so annoying. The real story right now is in the production tab for ShaDoWn. 7 more gates coming down for him, in addition to the 5 he already has. This is going to be so dangerous. Hokey smoked, that's a lot of gates, Steadfast.
It surely is. I thought he was just going to stop at 8, but no, he is going up to, that is, what, 12 gates?
Yep.
12 gateways.
12?
That's an insane number.
It's a dozen. That's as many gateways as there are Krispy Kreme donuts that I order for myself on a Saturday morning to keep me busy for the entire weekend, Steadfast.
And, well, we'll see if Denver can stave off the diabetes-like implications of that, or if he is going to get taken down.
Yeah, you guys don't want to know what my gut bacteria looks like. I'm basically Steadfast. Did you ever play World of Warcraft?
Oh, of course.
Do you remember when Magni Bronzebeard tried to speak to the Earth and just turned into a giant crystal, a giant diamond?
Yep.
I am like 1% sugar in my body away from just crystallizing. Like, I'm worried it's going to be like Ice 9 from Cat's Cradle, where I'm just going to go over that little tiny amount that I need to, and my whole body is just going to turn into a sugar statue, and they're going to have to, lick me to death to get me out of my office door for my funeral. That's how bad my diet is, Steadfast. So you shouldn't be too surprised that I love donuts more than I love some of my close family members. No surprises there. And no surprises on ShaDoWn's side of the map either. He's going into a very normal Archon build behind this. He's got Storm on the way, and this ton of gateway, I mean almost literal ton of gateways is going to allow him to crank out such a huge gateway force. He's actually going to have to cut some gateways, or cut some gateway units to support more of these Archons coming down. How do you feel about his response to what's clearly going to be a Roach Ravager timing from Denver?
I think he's pretty well set up. Storm did get contaminated, though, with 5.2 seconds left, and that is a huge deal right now. A lot of the value of this army is in those theoretical storms. It will finish up in time, but that was really nice from Denver.
Oh, that was so cute. What a wrinkle brain play from our French Zerg player. Beautifully done there. As you said, a lot of the potential damage in the army for ShaDoWn in those storms, and unable to use them in that engagement. Now, I hope you've got your griddles ready, Steadfast, because the Fleet Bacon has finished up in the main base. Now Steadfast, he's got almost no air units on the map, right? A couple Oracles, 3 Oracles and 2 Phoenix. Why on earth is ShaDoWn building a Fleet Bacon right now?
Well, it's on the production tab. It's right in front of us right there. He is going up into that carrier transition, and this is a really solid map to go for it if you can get up into 4 bases and secure some static defense. It's just really, really strong for kind of turtley play. Oh, those banelings on the Zealots right there. Wow.
Something that ShaDoWn tends to not do is build shield batteries, and it always vexes myself, and I know when Grant and I cast him, I was like, where are your shield batteries? He's only got 1 here at the 3rd base. Those banelings will get cleaned up, though, which is nice. Only 6 probe kills, but if we go back up to that 12 o'clock base, we'll see no shield batteries in the front of that base, just 1 in the probe line, and that is going to allow these Roaches and Ravagers to trade fairly effectively here. Zealots running through their own storms, and finally the Charge Loss will chase that away, but some good initial damage. There's even Zerg units in the main, those Dropper Lords, dropping some Rainlings here. 18 probes going down.
And I'll tell you what, if ShaDoWn just got overwhelmed by the multitasking, so did I. So much action going on all over the map, and, well, we will have ShaDoWn ultimately push this back. His army supply still very respectable, and he is getting up into those carriers. In fact, he actually has more army value than his opponent. But he just took a pretty big bloody nose, and now we've got Denver going up to 89 drones, adding on Corruptors, and he is absolutely going to be going for another bust very shortly.
Yeah, no question about it. You're absolutely correct. 10 Corruptors is a very safe number, I think, right now. ShaDoWn is very aware that he's up against carriers now. He sees the Interceptors, so he knows that some Corruptors need to be on the map, but I love that he's only starting with 10 Steadfast. I feel like that's a very manageable number. Oh, God, ShaDoWn, you gotta keep pulling those probes. Oh, you're so right. I think ShaDoWn just getting a little bit overwhelmed. Look at the APM for these players. We can see that Denver's average APM is twice that of ShaDoWn's, so it's very possible that Denver's just a little bit of a quicker player, able to multitask just a little bit more. Of course, Zerg generally requires a slightly higher APM than some of the other races to be equally competitive at the highest levels, but still great. Anyway, 10 Corruptors out, 4 more on the way. Steadfast, talk about Corruptor numbers and where you as a Zerg player want to end up after you tell us about this fight.
Well, we are going to see immediately this carrier getting taken out. The army was split up to deal with the multi-pronged aggression, and that means that Denver is going to find a lot of those power units isolated, going to be able to pick off a bunch of Immortals and Archons, and now, well, oh man, he almost storms down his own Templar right there. And Denver is absolutely cruising in this game number 1. He's lost less resources than his opponent.
Man, that's such a big boon, and it can't be overstated. The very nature of the Zerg race, right, is to make more units than your opponent, to throw away units, to trade inefficiently, but to be able to expand all over the map. Your creep spread allows you to defend a little bit more easily, so just by the very nature of playing, I usually say that Zerg players want to be about 2/3 as many, or you want, if you're playing against a Zerg, you want to lose about 2/3 as many resources as your Zerg opponent. But as you said, Denver, even behind in resources lost right now, he's going to be able to commit with his caustic spray to picking off one base and pressure the 12 o'clock as well. Steadfast, this is so good. Are the carriers from ShaDoWn going to become a... oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God. No. Come on.
Oh.
Come on.
Oh, the Archon ends up killing the Baneling, and it gets better splash damage as a result. 13 more probes gone down. We are looking at 62 workers dying in this game so far. Man. So far.
Yeah, so far. Look at the resources lost tab here. Fairly even between the two players. And that does mean that ShaDoWn still has a chance. The army values almost identical right now after a bunch of those Banelings go down. Go on.
Corrosive Biles just hit, I think, 2 High Templar and bruised the heck out of those carriers.
Is ShaDoWn's army getting really scary here, or does Denver have enough Corruptors on the map to deal with it?
It is getting very scary. It is getting to the point where, you know, he has got to start thinking about maybe sacrificing a base. He only has 12 Corruptors, and a lot of them are in very low HP. Oh, the Banelings on those Zealots, though. That is going to make this engagement so much easier, as now the Roaches and Ravagers can get on top of these Archons, and clearing out those Archons will allow the Corruptors to eventually take down these carriers.
Yeah, really nice understated benefit of this engagement is the Sim City from Denver, those Spore Crawlers forcing the Corruptors onto the north side, which allows this southern flank to be safe, and we can see those Corruptors picking down all the valuable units of his opponent. Go, go, Denver, go! There we go. Last carrier gets cleaned up here. The Void Razor, all that's left now, and it all is in the army supply there. If you go to the army supply graph, you'll see, it doesn't matter. Denver cleans up there in game number 1. Wow, Steadfast. What if you could boil it down to 1 or 2 single factors for Denver? What allowed him to pull so far ahead in that game that was honestly pretty close until minute, I don't know, 7, 8, 9, 10?
Well, I would say until he really started, you know, flexing his multitasking, it was a pretty close game. But all of a sudden, he just went, you know, Super Saiyan, like Meepo strats on the map, like just everywhere at once. And he just tore his opponent limb from limb in that game number 1.
I completely agree with you. Multitasking is almost certainly where Denver showed his true worth in that game. ShaDoWn just unable to keep up with constant pressure on more than one location. The Baneling connections were just beautiful, tearing down the probes, and I don't know if we caught the final number of probes killed, but it had to be up over 70, maybe even 80 dead in that game, and it's just so hard to recover when your economy is crushed like that. You got any advice for ShaDoWn in game number 2? How do you face up against a Zerg like Denver?
Well, I think you said it pretty effectively, pretty succinctly. It was very necessary for him to have some shield batteries. I was talking about, you know, it's a good thing to go for carriers when you're up into that secure 4-base scenario, but he never really got a critical amount of static defense that he needed to hold on to those bases. And Denver, he exploited that to its absolute fullest.
Yeah, no question. I mean, again, these players are so high level. If they see one mistake, they are going to capitalize. And Denver able to do that on game number 1 on Juggernaut. Let's hop into game number 2 on Death Aura LE. Our first player in the bottom right-hand side in the blue, representing France and currently sponsored by Team Coca Autentica Pepite, it is Denver.
Mr. John Denver.
That's right.
And his opponent spawning up in the top left position, representing himself and also France. It is ShaDoWn.
That was good. You started in Texas and ended up in Alabama. That was delightful. It's funny because I feel like a lot of people think that the South of America just has like all the same accent, but it's so broad. There's such a difference between the accents in like Texas, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida. You get across there and just all the states a little bit different. It's phenomenal. Steadfast, you probably know this. I have a background in vocal performance. I studied opera back in university for a while, and we learned a lot about dialect and accents and stuff. So one of the rabbit holes I get lost on YouTube a lot is voice actors and like vocal coaches just going over. There's this really good one who goes through all these movies and talks about, okay, this accent's good, this accent not so good, here's what he should have done, here's the vowels, like the specific vowel sound he got wrong. God, I could watch that stuff all day. They're so good.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's really neat, actually. Like the etymology of words is so cool.
Oh, man.
Just where words come from and how they've evolved over time. Like, I don't think people realize this, but because a lot of times people are like, oh, the English, blah, blah, blah. It's the universal language.
Right.
But if you look at Old English, that is some gibberish.
Oh,
That
yeah.
is so far from where we are right now. Like, it is incomprehensible and unrecognizable,
Garbage.
basically. Like, it's just so neat to see the evolution of language over time.
I had somebody, so on my personal Twitch channel, if you save up your channel points, you can redeem a poem that I'll read on stream, because I love poetry, and I love it when people share poetry. Somebody redeemed the Canterbury Tales a while ago, and they said, can you read it in the Old English? And I said, no, I can't. I can try, but it's crazy different. God, man, it's so much fun.
What a ridiculous request, though.
Oh, dude, I have had somebody requested like because people don't know what poetry is, apparently. I've had people request like prose before. They're just like, can you read the opener for this cool comic book, or this, like somebody wanted me to read the speech for V from Vendetta, and I was like, okay, not really poetry, but I'll do it. I try to be an understanding guy. It's so much fun. Void Ray out first for ShaDoWn, and this is what I thought was going to happen in game number 1. Steadfast, when you play Zerg, how annoying is it to play against a Void Ray opener from a Protoss player, and why is it so annoying?
It's not annoying at all. It doesn't bother me even a little bit. I'm never, annoyed by this. It doesn't get under my skin at all. It's not the worst thing to play against. It's totally fine.
You sound real comfortable there. Your voice went up an octave and a half. No, it's good. It's fine. I don't mind at all.
There's no problem. Honestly, Void Ray openings, they are quite frustrating to deal with. Now, part of what makes it so frustrating is it's not just the fact that, you have to contest these Void Rays. It's that there's so many openings right now that kind of flow out from there. So you can do what ShaDoWn is doing right now, which is just a single Void Ray. Or you can do single Stargate, pump out like 4 Void Rays. Or you can add on a second Stargate and go for like a bunch of Void Rays. Or you go like what we're seeing right here and potentially could see 2 additional Stargates and mass Void Ray. Like it's just very difficult to get a hand on, and it is quite frustrating to deal with.
Oh, man. Good analysis, as always, Steadfast. Thank you. I'm chuckling in the background. I'm just reading chat from 2 minutes ago, and they're all making puns with John Denver songs and Zerg references. Chat, I love you guys so much. Please never stop being amazing. That's so good. It's so take me home, country probes. I mean, come on.
Hey, that's a good one. I'm nominating that for the top spot there.
We'll send it to Tempo along with Rocky Mountain Hive, please. Oh, God. Oh, speaking of ridiculousness, as you said, this can be so frustrating to deal with. Denver is not going to be able to scout this second and now third Stargate coming down. Is it Mass Void Ray o'clock, Steadfast, here in what could be the last game of the day?
Well, hang on. Let me take a look at my watch. Yes, it is, in fact, Mass Void Ray o'clock.
Yes!
And, is Denver going to be able to identify this? He's going for a good number of lings right now. It kind of feels like he wants to put on some pressure. But there is a shield battery in the third base, very wisely from ShaDoWn here. This is the kind of map where if you can kind of, I would say even more so than Jagannatha, yeah, that's a nice snipe right there on that drone. That's real annoying trying to get that hatch down and having it denied. But if you can get up some static defense at these 4 base locations, the potential of going into carriers becomes very, very frightening. Ooh, but this is a little bit annoying right here. Nothing really in position to prevent this from getting in. And if Denver can break through, he will get the very crucial scout. Oh, he is going to get in.
Probe just a little bit late there to block this off, and not only does that mean the Link's probably going to get a couple probe kills here. Nice micro from Denver, by the way, splitting out those Links, putting them in hold position, then going back in. Nicely done. But most importantly, of course, he sees those Void Rays. ShaDoWn was trying to be really cute with those Void Rays, by the way, hiding them back and showing an Oracle, showing a handful of Adepts, and trying to be like, okay, I'm not going to go mass Void Ray. But Denver now recognizes it. My question, Steadfast, is has our Zerg player seen this mass Void Ray play too late? I feel like this is something you got to identify a little bit before it hits, but it's a hitting right now.
Well, it looks like he was a little bit prepared for it already. Already has 7 queens out on the map with a lot of transfuse energy. And with all this creep spread right here, oh, beautiful target fire. Even with ShaDoWn trying to mask the low HP Void Ray, Denver still targets it. Nice. His mechanic have looked really, really sharp. His micro and just everything has looked really sharp. And it's unsurprising to me, after seeing him play right now, that he is undefeated in this group right now. But this is still a frightening scenario.
Yeah, definitely. Still a frightening scenario for sure. Denver investing into +1 missile attack, +1 roach, or pardon me, +1 missile attack and roach speed, in addition to the double spire behind this. Steadfast, can you walk me through, for those of us who don't play a lot of ZVP, why the hell do you want to build roaches right now, right? Roaches don't do anything against Void Rays. And then why the double spire as well? 2 maybe confusing choices for people who don't watch a lot of this matchup.
Well, it all comes down to that scout he got earlier. This is a really cool move, by the way, from Denver. Just 3 roaches on the other side of the map. That's enough to one-shot probes. But importantly, in addition to scouting the Void Rays, he also saw the Forge and Twilight Council come down, which means he knows that his opponent is going to be transitioning back into that ground. And so he will need roaches, so he's getting a head start on that +1 missile. But what does surprise me is that he went for double spire here. Yeah. And now is not getting upgrades. Of course, Void Rays are tick damage, and they tick very, very quickly.
Right.
And the concept of going for Corruptors right now into Void Ray play, it honestly vexes me.
Okay. Why's that? Corruptors seem like they'd be great against Void Rays.
Well, you'd think so. But that plus versus armored, and when they turn that on that prismatic alignment, oh man, do Void Rays ever shred Corruptors. You need so many Corruptors more than your opponent in order to be able to take a fight. And, well, I don't think 14 Corruptors versus 7 Void Rays, especially with those Void Rays having +1 attack, is going to be enough.
Interesting. Great assessments there. I love having a Zerg expert on the stream who can drop some knowledge for all of us. More Corruptors getting added on here for Denver, as are the Roaches. So Corruptor Roach against what looks like Void Ray versus Charge Lot, probably into Archon. Storm is already down, though, and Storm, of course, can do a pretty nice job. Ooh, Templar getting sniped there. A little bit of a misplay from ShaDoWn. And this is what we saw really sealing the game win for Denver last game as the Roaches pop into the 3rd. These Void Rays sharking around the main, sharking around the 4th base, gonna try and caustic spray down this 4th base before they're able to kill it. And even though a couple Stalkers are gonna get warped in here, as long as he commits to this, I think Denver's gonna stop this 4th base from going down. The Void Ray's gonna go ahead and attack here, but Denver up and out. Really well done there by Denver, and he actually got the kill on that Nexus, I believe.
He did kill, not a cancel, and that is always painful in a scenario like this. Now, Denver needs to disengage, I think, right this moment. With Storm and Void Rays out, he cannot stay here. But at the same time, he's now in a position where, oh god, those were some big storms. Wow, and then they actually hit the Void Rays, so a little bit of a miss micro right there. But meanwhile, other side of the map, oh, I did not notice this, and Denver is getting, well, he's dealing with this pretty effectively, but still, 8 drones already going down. Make it 9, make it 10, make it 11.
Wow. That's going to even up those worker counts, of course, these 2 players, and will force Denver back home with all these queens. That means maybe some missed injects and some lings that aren't across the map to defend that. So decent rapid response from Denver here. But the most important thing, I think, is that Denver has a huge bank right now, so he can rebuild those drones quite quickly. Finally, 15 hours after the double spire has been built, Steadfast, +1/+1. finally on the way from Denver. It looks like he really does want to take an air war here with ShaDoWn, which again, a little surprising considering the jumpstart that ShaDoWn has with all of these Void Rays.
I will say I like the decision if he'd been doing this to gear up for the late game from an earlier standpoint. Just because right now he could have 1-1 done on his flyer and be straight up into 2-2. I think he might have been expecting a faster carrier transition. Oh, I don't know about this. He does pick off a Void Ray, but that was a pretty big storm right there. You got to be real careful about dancing in and out.
Yeah, Denver seems to be very confident in his ability to micro those corruptors. If we've seen wow, another huge storm here. We've seen time and time again though, he's willing to like jump in for a one shot to pick off a Void Ray and then to escape. But now those Void Rays do have Flux Veins. They're going to be a little bit more dangerous, a little bit more scary, and they are, as you said earlier, going to absolutely melt those corruptors. 19 Mutalisks on the way. What on earth is Denver going for here?
I actually think I really like this because ShaDoWn, he might be in a position where he feels confident to push, and there is almost nothing that shoots up here besides those Void Rays themselves. Only one Archon, a couple Stalkers, and there is a big amount of Storm energy, but Denver has a very strong potential to just get right on top of this army and absolutely gun it down very quickly with those Mutas. But I think he needs to fight with Queens if he's going to have a chance with this.
Yeah, those transfuses, of course, going to be absolutely essential. Nice little run by in the natural here. It looks like those Lings getting on top of some units here, but luckily saved by a very well-placed shield, stasis ward. The engagement going down here. Nice dodge on the storm, though. ShaDoWn missing that first storm just a little bit. ShaDoWn down to just 4 High Templar, by the way. So his storm energy getting a little bit lower than he might otherwise like. These Corruptors need to get on top, and there it is. Caustic Spray onto the Stargates, and this is a phenomenal way to pick this down. Luckily, there are some Warpins available for Denver who will get the Stalkers in and should be able to stop these Corruptors. No, wow, Denver actually committing to this. This is so smart, I think. Throwing away these Corruptors that aren't super useful. He's going to start rebalancing his army and picking off Stargates. Absolutely worth it here when you're already maxed out and you're sitting on 2,800 minerals.
Well,
I mean, that follow-up, though.
I started talking about this in the earlier stages, but I kind of got myself sidetracked, is the concept that Denver really went with a low-tech army. And, you know, it's okay to be on Roach Corruptor for a little while, but when your opponent is gearing themselves up for the late game with Void Rays and High Templar very effectively, God, it just makes things really difficult. And now we see Denver on a much lower tech army than his opponent, and if you look at the army value, he is very far behind. Yeah, Denver's still trying to go for this economic damage. At this point, I don't think ShaDoWn cares. He's pushing across the map, setting himself up for a huge late game push. He built 5 freaking Stargates behind this Steadfast. That's an insane number of Stargates. And even though they may be depowered here, this army from ShaDoWn is unanswerable from Denver. No Hydralisks, no Vipers, no Infestors for fungal growth, no high-tech response to this massive air army. And I gotta say, Denver dropping the ball a little bit. He's had so much time to respond to this and has failed to do so time and time again. Yeah, he needs to switch into full base trade mode. He needs to be getting drones across the map. He needs to be saving as much economy as he can. That is his only way to win this game, I feel. Oh, this is a really nice pickup. Wow, that was an Artosis pylon if ever there was one. Blink gonna get canceled. That's actually great. Those Mutalisks, you really do want Blink against the Mutas. I don't think it matters, though. It doesn't look like ShaDoWn is gonna be building too many more units at all. His economy getting crushed back home, but so is Denver here. These players almost even on workers, 35 to 40. And you said base trade earlier. I think it's pretty clear which of these armies is gonna win in a straight up fight. Denver needs to be really sneaky if he wants to win this game, but man, it's gonna take just an insane level of sneak. You have to be like a Skyrim style sneak archer to sneak your way through a base trade with ShaDoWn here. Khajiit has mutas if you have the wares. So many of them too. 37 Mutalisks. Is 37 a prime number? Anyway, it's down to 35 now. It doesn't matter. But look at the drone kill count now. 71 drones have gone down. One of the only things Denver had going for him earlier in this game was that he had a higher drone count than ShaDoWn had a probe count. And he might have been able to re-establish his economy on the back of this really, really difficult army to deal with from ShaDoWn. But as these Mutalisks get trapped in the middle of the map and the Void Rays get pot shots off as they flee, things looking worse and worse for Denver, who's battling it out. He is, and funnily enough, the double Spire in the natural did not get scouted, so now these mutas are 2-2, which is insane. That is so bizarre, and this probe line is going to get found. That will shut down a lot more mining. Now, you know, there is a very weird scenario where Denver could potentially just continue to find units kind of isolated. Oh my god, the storms. But he is going to be able to find the High Templar. But, I think that was probably... No, he only got 12 mutas. That was all of the power of his army. And now he doesn't have much punch with this.
Nah, I mean, there's almost nothing left here. It's 12 mutas, and there ain't nothing else. 11 drones. You can see the production tab. Things still on the way for ShaDoWn. As soon as he repowers, he'll have Blink and +2 on the way. And, if we're watching this game as casual observers, we're like, why isn't Denver tapping out? Remember, guys, Denver doesn't have the map hacks that we do. He doesn't know that his opponent's on 95 army supply. He just knows that that's going to be the end of it, and oh my goodness gracious. Steadfast, we have been finally blessed after 4 2-0 series. We're going to a game 3 for the first time today.
Yeah, it's this was a really, really solid performance out of ShaDoWn here. He was really able to keep this game from ending.
Yeah.
Due to that early aggression from Denver.
Yeah. And
from that point on, yeah, he did a really good job. Now, in theory, I did like the Muta switch.
Okay.
But I don't think he executed it correctly per se. I think he needed to try and either one, go into the base trade a lot more willingly from an earlier stage, or two, I think he needed to maybe
build some damn Hydras.
I'm not even sure. I mean, maybe Infestors. I don't think he had the time.
Okay.
But ShaDoWn did a really good job of just continually building up a really, really valuable army. And I think it was going to be ShaDoWn's kind of game to win, as it were. But that was a solid performance overall from the French Protoss.
Yeah, you make a really good point. I think it's pretty easy to be like, oh, he should have gone Hydras. Why didn't he build any Vipers or Infestors? He just straight up did not have the tech for it back home. And with the pressure that ShaDoWn was able to put on with those zippy Void Rays with Flux Veins finished up, it feels like he had a lot of time. You're like, oh, he had like 10 minutes to respond. Why didn't he do this? Why didn't he do that? And the answer was he was constantly under pressure. You've got to... under pressure. I just have Queen playing in my head now. You got to remember that these players constantly under duress. And if you take a minute to invest in your infrastructure, that's 300, 600, 1,000 minerals and gas that you're not going to have out on the field, and that would have just allowed ShaDoWn to really swoop in and take over in the game a lot earlier. So under constant pressure, forcing a lot of units out. A bit of a weird response initially from Denver, that double Spire, I think, still raising some eyebrows. But overall, ShaDoWn really keeping the pressure on that game and controlling the conversation of the game. ShaDoWn able to say, this is my game, I'm going to play it my way, you've got to respond all the time. Let's hop into game number 3 on Lightshade LE. Steadfast, the camera is yours, and why don't you introduce our Zerg player to start things off?
All right, we have spawning down in the bottom right position of Lightshade, the red Zerg player representing TKAP. It is Denver.
And his opponent looking to upset the king. Looking for his a match win here in game number 3. It's our French Protoss player, currently teamless. His name is ShaDoWn. Now, go ahead.
Oh, well, I was just going to say, I realized what I actually would have liked to see from Denver in that last game. So when he forced the recall with those mutas, I would have really liked to see him get back across the map and try and pick off those Void Rays that were still remaining in his base.
Sure.
I think that was maybe a path to victory, although, to be honest, at that point, it felt like it was already too little too late. But I think that was probably his best opportunity in that game.
Yeah, man, it's so easy. I can't remember if I was telling you or Grant, but I read a quote the other day, and I can't remember who said it because I'm dumb. But the quote was, once you know the answer is always obvious. And I feel like they were talking about society in general. The question was like, how are we so technologically advanced? And it's because once you know how something works, it's easy to understand how it works. And I feel like that's very true with StarCraft as well, where we as commentators can go back and we're like, man, he should have done this, he should have done this, he should have done this. And it makes us seem really, really intelligent. But that's because we're not making those calls under duress in the middle of a game when we're trying to figure out the response. So it's so nice to have somebody smart like you, Steadfast, to sort of point out what these players could have been doing and to analyze their play from a really technologically savvy level. So I'm so glad you're here to give us some of those really great answers after that last crazy series. Openers so far looking pretty standard on both sides. Another Stargate opener from ShaDoWn. What do you think, Steadfast? What's the over-under? ShaDoWn gonna go mass Void Ray again because it worked so well last game?
Honestly, I think that's the play.
Really?
Oh yeah, it feels like to me Denver was not comfortable dealing with it, and I think it kind of Denver, as we saw in both game number 1 and 2, really wanted to stay on those low tech units, very swarmy Zerg style, very aggressive, and Void Rays are really good against that, generally speaking. And I think anytime that you can kind of, you know, play an anti your opponent's style, I think that's a good thing. And well, we're already seeing a Void Ray first out of ShaDoWn, and you know, it's looking like maybe that's going to be the case.
Yeah, I think so. I think so indeed. First Void Ray on the way out. Now, of course, there is a lot of flexibility in Protoss builds these days. You can go Void Ray first and straight into Oracles. We've seen that. You can go Void Ray first into double Stargate and then Mass Phoenix and go for a Robo follow-up with Phoenix Colossus if you want. And we do see a second Oracle coming out. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it's not Mass Void Ray. I think did ShaDoWn build an Oracle last game as well, Steadfast?
Yes, he did.
I think he went Void Ray, Oracle, and then into triple Stargate. So still a very real possibility. Denver already setting up those Spore Crawlers at the main, natural, and he will have one of his third here pretty quickly. Just content to drone up for now. He's seen the Void Ray. When is it time for Denver to hit the panic button and go straight into Hydras, get up to Hive Tech for the Vipers? What does he have to see that might make our Zerg player say, okay, now it's time. He's going for it again. Let's make it happen.
Well, I would say it's, you know, you can't really make that blind counter. Oh, this is a nice pick off for ShaDoWn, going to be able to pick off another Overlord. But Denver will get a decent bit of hull damage on that Void Ray. I would say you can't make that assumption until you're sure. And, well, ShaDoWn showing us why. He's going to be going for 2 more gates and a Twilight Council. I think this is going to be for a good old-fashioned Resonating Glaives follow-up.
I think you're absolutely correct about that. Twilight Council down. No Robo yet, though, which is really interesting. Normally, when you go for a follow-up to this, if you really want to commit to the Resonating Glaives, you got to go Twilight into Robo and get that Warp Prism so you can continue to reinforce the Warp Gate, reinforce with the Warp Prism across the map. And so I do think Resonating Glaives is very possible, but the longer we don't see a Robo go down, the longer we don't see Resonating Glaives come out. Okay, there it is, finally. Yeah, good call, Steadfast. I was going to say, if he waits on Resonating Glaives for a little while longer, it's possible there'll be a Dark Shrine and some DTs into Archons, but yeah, as you said, Resonating Glaives, a good follow-up, but he's not going all in with the Resonating Glaives here. It's not going to be a really huge push, just looking to get a bit of damage done. Denver won't scout this. He's got no Overlords in their side of the map because the Void Ray has cleared out his map vision so much, and he's making 10 roaches along with a Lair Tech. Steadfast, what on earth is Denver's plan from here?
Well, that is a really good question. Honestly, it feels to me like this is going to be a Roach Queen push, especially with the direction of this creep spread and how far developed it is. It really feels like he wants to make a push incorporating Queens towards that third base. And against Resonating Glaives with, as you mentioned, a very late robotics facility, and to be honest, a pretty exposed one at that, this is going to be really difficult. This is really playing into Denver's hands right now.
Yeah, it really is. Glaive's about to finish up here, and this is a fair amount of Adepts, though. 16 of them going down, as well as 16 Roaches on the side for Denver. So far, a nice dive on top of these Adepts, and a fair few Adepts going to go down. The Queens and other Roaches rotating around. Let's keep our eyes as this Shade finishes Steadfast. Oh my gosh, he cancels the Shade. Gonna get chased away.
I was so ready to jump over there, and he just deked me right out. And that is the correct call because he is getting all in right now. Denver on just 50 workers.
Yep.
And ShaDoWn, he's just now starting static defense, and these Queens are nearly at the front. Roaches are moving forward. Glio reconstitution, that Roach speed is going to be done in just a couple of moments. And, well, what is there really on the field right now? There is going to be Immortals very shortly, but not a whole lot.
The good news, of course, for ShaDoWn is that Denver has not gone for any Ravagers just yet, so Corrosive Bile's not going to be able to zone him out. The bad news, though, as you said, are those Shield Batteries not finishing up until it's almost too late. Shield Battery Overcharge is available, but he doesn't want to pop that until the last minute here. Is Shield Battery Overcharge available? Oh my god, it's not. He only has 43 energy on that Nexus, and this is going to be a beautiful timing from Denver Steadfast. The Immortals wheeling back, but the only full energy shield battery has gone down, and now these Roaches and Rad Queens on top of the Immortals who are about to get taken down to the backside here. Their shield battery overcharge, but it's not going to save him.
Not quite. That Roach number, just too much. Almost keeping that Immortal alive. And wow, the Pro Pull actually being surprisingly effective right here. But as Denver just kind of disengages and gets back to those queens with more reinforcements coming, it is looking very solid for the French Zerg player to keep his undefeated streak alive. He depowers one of the Robos. Another one does pop out, another Immortal. Probes being forced to pull once again. 22 have gone down. These queens, they are bungled up, but they are slowly but surely moving forward and pinning this Protoss army against the wall.
Steadfast, I'm getting really worried, though. 2 Immortals still alive here, and a lot of missed shots from Denver. Look at that Nexus with like a quarter of its, or half of its shields gone. Why is he attacking the Nexus? Why is he working on probes right now? Denver really needs to micro his army a little bit better to get on top of these Immortals and pick them off. They've been alive for way too long. They will finally go down, but look at the army supplies right now. It was something like 90 to 30, and now it's all the way down to 46-18. I still think Denver's in a good position, but he's got to make more roaches, and he realized he's not going to win over the course of this this initial engagement. He's got to go back home, drop down to third base, drone up, and maybe try and follow this up. A nice goop there on the Robo, going to stop one of these Immortals from going out. The second Robo not making any Immortals. Roach is still coming across. Steadfast, why is Denver still committing to this? Surely he knows he can't win.
I think he still thinks that he can, but as you mentioned, ShaDoWn is getting closer and closer to stabilizing, and now he's got Blink Stalkers. He's been rebuilding probes this whole time, and he holds a hold of the century. That was incredible.
Man, good hold from ShaDoWn, but I gotta say, I feel like Denver lost that engagement more than ShaDoWn won it. Really sloppy focus fire from Denver, letting all, as you said, a lot of his queens getting bungled up, tangled in that Sim City of ShaDoWn, and ShaDoWn's Immortals staying alive for almost that entire fight. Now, the good news is that Denver realized he wasn't going to win in fairly decent time. He's got a 4th base down. Now his drone count still higher than the probe count of ShaDoWn. ShaDoWn on +1, though, working on +2. ShaDoWn on 2 Robos, cranking out Immortals, hopefully 2 at a time here before too long. ShaDoWn actually has a pretty scary-looking army, even though the army supply looks like it's in favor of Denver. Look at the army value in the top corner there. The gas count way higher for ShaDoWn right now, and ShaDoWn with no Warp Prism probably can't sustain a big attack here, but can pressure Denver a little more. Steadfast, how do you feel about the choice from Denver to go for Tunneling Claws and Burrow? Do burrowed roaches ever work?
They can. They certainly can. We don't see them work often, though, especially since the nerf to them. They used to be such a staple in the ZVZ matchup, but not so much anymore. These Stalkers, though, a little bit too far out of position. And, well, okay, with ShaDoWn warping in more Stalkers, he should be safe at this base. But I don't know about the decision to do so, to go for this. If he had picked off one or both of the Robos, I would like this this Burrow move Roach play.
Yep.
But instead, I don't know. Now, he may be playing a little bit because of the game number 1 and feeling like he can really just out-multitask his opponent.
Sure.
But, you know, if there's detection in plays, it kind of becomes a little bit moot.
The good news for Denver is that natural right now, no detection at all. The observer is, I don't know where that observer, oh, it's right with the army, okay. If he can dodge the singular observer, and of course ShaDoWn realizes he's in a rough position, so he's probably just going to make nothing but Immortals for a while. If no observer comes out and these burrowed roaches get in, there might be some real damage, but I believe the burrowed roaches have now been seen by the scouting Phoenix, so we should see some mobile, or some static detection coming in very soon. ShaDoWn, drop some cannons, buddy. These burrowed roaches could be a very real problem for him, Steadfast.
Yeah, it's possible that he doesn't even notice it's very distinct these days. Oh, the cancel on this Nexus.
Kill!
Oh, he gets a kill, not a cancel.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, surely he's noticed. Of course, for those of you who don't know, I think every single upgrade in StarCraft, the visual designers do such a nice job of adding affordances to those upgrades, which means that basically when an upgrade happens to a specific unit, there's some sort of visual indicator they've been upgraded. Marauder concussive shells turn the fire from orange to blue. Tectonic destabilizers turn the Tempest shots from blue to orange. And roaches, of course, get those little spinities on top of their heads, and to me, they're very visually distinctive, and I'm sure the players recognize them as well. But you're right, they can be pretty subtle sometimes. But the kill on that 4th base is so good. He gets another kill! No cancel from ShaDoWn! Oh, the force field's hurting him more than they're going to help him as well, trapping those Immortals in the back. That was a great clear, and oh my god, the Banelings rolling in here, only on +1, but it's going to take twice as many to kill, but this is really nice. 16 probes going down, and ShaDoWn's multitasking him, failing him once again here, Steadfast. Oof.
That was an oof moment, and ShaDoWn, he feels the pressure, and his +2 is done.
Yeah.
He is going to go for it right now, and I think I agree. I don't think he has any other choice. But his army getting, oh man, really awkwardly segmented off. Okay, he does disengage, and those corrosive vials actually kill the creep hilariously enough. Man, he's gonna actually try and macro out of this. He's building more probes and rebuilding that fourth.
Oh, I don't know about this at all. It looks like another run by at that 6 o'clock or that 9 o'clock base rather, and this time it's all Lings, which is going to chase those probes away. A full surround on the Nexus, and these are they're +0 Lings and no adrenal glands yet. If they were +1, this Nexus probably would have been dead by now. But there's another pressure going out of the 12 o'clock. Denver showcasing that massive APM. Banelings rolling through the Stalkers, and ShaDoWn taking hits left and right, literally and figuratively. Steadfast.
And this is looking eerily similar to game number 1, with Denver just flexing his APM, flexing his multitasking, and showing us why he is still undefeated in this group, even though he definitely overcommitted earlier with that one attack. Look at this. Wow. He's killed so many probes in game number 3. 66 workers have gone down, and this is the last shot for ShaDoWn.
Banelings from the back. Oh my god! The Baneling flank hitting so many of those Immortals, and that pops their barrier as well, which means they're going to take actual damage here. They're not going to be safe for that 1 second while they get attacked, and with the Immortals gone, the backbone of ShaDoWn's army has been crushed. Steadfast, is there any hope for our French Protoss player?
I don't see it, and neither does ShaDoWn. GG is called. Denver gonna